Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk about the ashes of creation situation going on right now between the developers Intrepid Studios and the content creator Knock. Now, I just have a picture of some Star Citizen spaceships in the background, so I don't want to get into any copyright situations using Knock or official Astro Creation footage. It's just going to be a talking head video, basically. If you're listening to it, you can listen to it like a podcast. Now, I want to separate this video into two parts. First, I want to talk about the desert situation, and then I want to talk about demonetization and why Nock doesn't feel comfortable supporting the game anymore. So to kind of explain the situation a little bit at the start, Nock made a video saying goodbye to Astro Creation. He's no longer going to be making content for the game. And he outlined his reasons for that. And in that video, he showed off the desert. Now, the thing with the desert is that he showed off a portion of the desert that was expanded content. So basically, the game is in Alpha 2. Okay? Alpha 2 has different phases. In phase 1 of Alpha 2, there was the desert. And Nox showed that in an older video where he was flying around the desert. He said in his video that if the desert didn't exist, he would shave off his beard. And when Alpha 2 Phase 1 was released, the desert was there and he shaved his beard off. He stayed true to his word. Then Steven Sharif said that in Alpha 2 Phase 2, that same desert that Nox showed would get expanded on. Now, in Alpha 2 Phase 1, that desert did not have any content. You would phase through different trees, and it just had randomly placed mobs. So it is reasonable to assume that people were hoping that when they expanded on the desert that Intrepid would add content. But what they added was what Nox showed at the edge of the map. They added the dunes. So they added the dunes with a node and some assets, turnaround, and some mobs. Okay, so they did expand on the desert. They kept their word. They expanded on the desert. Now, the expanded content, or quote unquote things that they added, was not what Nock expected. He was hoping that they would add something for him to test, right? Because in these phases, alpha testers want to test out the content and the systems that Intrepid has shown over the years, right? So I think that obviously similar situations arise and exist within Star Citizen, where we have situations where the developers have showed content that a lot of players hoped would be in the game. A kind of example of that would be like distribution centers, where CIG showed off, group raids, which is not something that the distribution centers had when they released. Okay. And for individuals who are not familiar with alpha games or who have not played many games in their alpha state, what often happens is that the developers show off what they intend for this area, the gameplay that they want to be there. And when that asset or that region comes online for the first time, it doesn't often have all of that content delivered on day one. So the assumption here is that the desert will eventually get this content that Intrepid Studios showed off in that footage. But in my personal opinion, it is totally acceptable to be upset by the current state of the release of that content or that feature or that location if it is not what people expected. Now, I kind of want to move on to phase 2 or part 2 of this video, where I talk a little bit about the monetization, right? So we'll start off, I guess, with the desert situation, right? So why would anyone be upset about this if it is typical practice for game studios to do, to create a vertical slice, which is what many people might call it, and then deliver something similar. Well, the reason has to do a little bit with Asset Creation's monetization strategy, right? So Nock talked about this in his video as well, right? Where he talked about Alpha 2 access being $250, and then they took it off of the store, or you were no longer able to purchase Alpha 2 access. And then they brought it back right before Alpha 2 came out for a lower price, starting at, I believe, $100, which was, I believe, phase 3. And then 125 was phase 2, and 150 was phase 1. So they broke up alpha access into different chunks. So what you're paying for is that alpha access. You are not buying the game, right? So that's a stark contrast from something like Star Citizen, where if you pay $45, you're getting the game in perpetuity. Star Citizen is a box price game. Astral Creation is a sub fee game. So if you spend $250, 150, 125, $100, you're only buying alpha access or beta access. I believe they sold $500 packages that also included a few months of playtime. But in the end, when Astral Creation is delivered, hopefully, it will be a sub fee game. So what you have paid for is money lost. So if you buy alpha access right now, what you're getting is the current state of the game. So in my personal opinion, it is more understandable for someone to be dissatisfied with their purchase, right? Because you're not buying the game, you're buying the current state of the game, and the current state of the game is an alpha. And if you can't test, then you've wasted your money, right? And so what Knock is saying is that there are people who pay to be in Alpha 2 who can't test. They have to grind all over again in phase 2 to do anything because they reset the alpha. So you essentially paid 120, whatever you've paid, right, to test the game, right? And then you go in and you play and you test, and then Intrepid wipes all that progress and you have to test it all over again without them introducing anything new for you to test. So the money that you spent just went to the previous game time. So anyone who's not currently playing Ashes of Creation are not getting their money's worth. So Knock doesn't feel comfortable essentially promoting that. That's what he's saying in his video. And from a content creator's perspective, this is totally understandable. I have been a backer of Star Citizen since 2014 September. So September of 2024 is now 2025. Has been 10 years, and I have been creating content for Star Citizen for the last 3 years. Okay, and I get many comments from people saying, you still play this game, why are you still supporting this game? I can't believe you're trying to get people to buy this game, right? And it is only human to feel bad about that, to have a subscriber or somebody who follows you come to you and say that I paid money for this game and I can't log in right now. Right now 4.0 has had many issues and people have been locked out. So I have had those scenarios where players have come to me in the comments of my videos and say that Star Citizen is not in a good state. I can't believe you promoted this game, that you promote this game. And again, it is only human to feel bad about that, about those comments. The reason why I can rationalize it, that is because of Star Citizen's monetization. And I've talked about this in a very old video now that you shouldn't watch. It's very old. But the reason why I'm okay with it is because Star Citizen is a full box price game with a pretty decent refund policy, right? So if you pay $45 right now, you get the game forever. You never have to spend another dime, which I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, you're gonna end up buying more ships. The game's not really playable at $45. That is debatable. I don't blame anyone for feeling that. But on top of that, you have the refund policy where if you played, you know, every day and after 20 days or so, you don't like the game anymore, you can get all of your money back. Right? In Astral Creation's case, you are buying the current state of the game, the current alpha. When the alpha is over, your money's gone. That's why there's some people in those comments saying, minus $250, minus $400, because you're not buying the game, you're buying alpha access. So if there's nothing to test, then you are not getting your money's worth, full stop. And you can't blame anybody for not wanting to promote that monetization structure, right? For someone to feel comfortable promoting Astral Creation's current state, Intrepid would need to be very crystal clear about what people are paying for. People understand it's an alpha and they want to support the project. And of course, that's a different situation. If you're not really that interested in testing right now, you just want to give Intrepid Studios money so that they can develop the game. That is completely your prerogative. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're somebody who wants to test the systems that you've been seeing them showcase over the last year or two, then of course you would feel a little disappointed not getting an opportunity to test those things. Okay. So I believe right now the people who have purchased do have access to phase 3, which is coming later this year, and the beta. So if you're not getting your money's worth out of it right now, you do have an opportunity to continue to test and play the game. And Intrepid said that the beta will stay open until the game is launched. So again, those people who did spend that money will have access to play the game for the rest of this year, right? Hopefully. Again, I'm just going based off what they've said will happen. So I think that, in this specific situation, it is okay for Knock to step away from the game and, essentially say that he does not want to create content for it anymore because, at the end of the day, he's telling people to go spend money on something that is not ready yet. He doesn't feel comfortable with that. That's totally fine. And he said as much in his video as well. He said that he does not think that the game is a scam and, that he hopes they finish the game, right? So those people who did put all that money in gets their money worth. At the same time, Intrepid Studios, they want to fund the game. At the end of the day, I know Steven Sharif has said this in before, that the game is fully funded, that, he started saying later on that, if they don't make their quotas or whatever, he will, fund the game out of his pocket. And of course, that's incredibly noble. But that's up to you to believe or not, right? Realistically, if you make $250 game packages available, then you take them off the store and you bring them back for a lower price, it just seems like to players you need money. I'm just being 100% honest here. We're all adults. We don't need to sugarcoat things. You guys know if you watch my channel, I don't sugarcoat things. I call CIG out on when they do stuff that I don't agree with. But I've been a member of this community for so long, and I understand what alpha development is, and that how much of a bumpy road it is, and that's something that I've signed up for, right? And it's up to everybody to feel comfortable with what they feel comfortable with. And obviously I tell my subscribers, people who watch this channel, that Star Citizen is pretty rough right now, and if you don't have the stomach for alpha development, that you should not spend your money on this game. But when it shines, when it does good things, that's what keeps me into the game. It's potential, so to say, and that I know that and again, I want to put this into context for everybody. In Star Citizen's case, right? Let's say you spend $5,000 on Star Citizen. You lose your job, mortgage payments are piling up, all this stuff. You have a $5,000 account. I'm not telling you to do this, right? If anybody asks, Zypher told me to sell my account on the gray market. I'm not telling you to do that. Okay. But, but, you know, again, if you have a mortgage to pay for and bills are piling up, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. You're an adult. So there is an exit strategy for Star Citizen players. I don't know what Ashes of Creation's refund policy is. I think they need to make that very clear, that if people are unsatisfied with Alpha 2, that they can get their money back, and that they need to come out with a statement and say, hey, this is our refund policy. If you're not satisfied with Alpha access, you can get a full refund. And I think that's kind of the best solution to this situation, right? Because that is at the core of this scenario. And of course, communication can always be better. It is not a great situation that Steven Sharif is a moderator of the subreddit, and he's been, locking threads and banning people, whether they deserve to be banned or not. The studio head shouldn't be doing that. I think he needs to kind of, take a deep breath, reset, and obviously, again, his money's tied up in this. So he takes a very personal, interest in the success of the game. And so obviously he wants to defend something that he's been working on so long. So I think that he needs to promote someone internally to, kind of be more of an intermediary. Chris Roberts has done something similar with Richard Tyler and Jared, letting them kind of be more of the face of the company. And sometimes you just need to do that so you could lead and run the company from a business standpoint. So I think that, again, both individuals can learn from this situation. I think Knock, he kind of, from this situation, I think he kind of understands a little bit more what alpha development is. And I think that Steven from this situation needs to learn that, he needs to kind of step away. He needs to detach. He needs to be more clear about his communication with the community. He needs to, outline that, the refund policy a little bit better so everyone knows what it is and how all that stuff works. And I think it's just that simple. Nobody's a bad guy in this situation. It's two people just had disagreement. Knock is totally valid in his opinions, and of course, I hope the best for Intrepid. I think Ashes of Creation is a cool looking game, and I hope it's successful. I don't think it's a scam, but I think there are obviously shortcomings that they need to address and get right so they can have a good Alpha 2, and so that the game can become more successful and live up to the potential that I think it has. But I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think in the comments down below? I know a lot of you guys are Star Citizen players. You've been here before, and you probably know better than anybody, probably what Knock is feeling, or what, maybe you are excited about Ashes of Creation yourself, and you've invested into the game. I know, a few Star Citizen players who are also Ashes of Creation fans. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this whole situation? I wasn't expecting to make a video like this today, but I thought I should speak on it a little bit as Star Citizen content creator. But that's going to be it for me in this video, you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me again. I know there was less going on in the background. This video is just kind of a talking head video, but it's kind of cool to make, videos and content like this sometimes, just to talk to you guys and share these ideas. But like I always say at the end of these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salut!